You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure.
Defense said he was gonna look into your actions. That's funny. He entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed in the same situation, and consider the consequences.
People were going to die! Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Your actions.
He's not a man. Except that.
Superman 2025 was released on July 11, 2025. The film is directed and written by James Gunn, produced by James Gunn and Peter Safran under DC Studios, stars David Corenswet as Superman, Clark Kent, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, was made on an estimated budget of approximately $225 million United States dollars, and has earned more than $600 million United States dollars worldwide at the box office. Rather than introducing Superman as an untouchable icon, the film presents him as a compassionate hero whose greatest strength is not his power but his unwavering belief that kindness, hope, and responsibility can inspire people even during moments of fear and uncertainty. David Corenswet delivers a confident yet deeply human performance, successfully balancing Clark Kent's humility with Superman's courage. His portrayal avoids unnecessary arrogance and instead focuses on sincerity, allowing audiences to connect with the emotional side of the character. Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane is intelligent, fearless, determined, and emotionally grounded, making her one of the strongest versions of the character seen on screen. Her chemistry with Corenswet feels natural because their relationship is built on trust, respect, and genuine admiration rather than depending entirely on romance. Nicholas Hoult brings a fresh interpretation to Lex Luthor by portraying him as an exceptionally intelligent individual whose obsession with control gradually consumes his judgment. Instead of relying only on physical threats, his presence creates psychological tension that keeps the narrative engaging. James Gunn's direction successfully combines emotional storytelling with spectacular entertainment, ensuring that character development remains just as important as visual spectacle. The film constantly reminds viewers that heroism is measured not only by defeating enemies but also by protecting innocent lives, making difficult choices, and refusing to abandon hope even when circumstances become overwhelming. Visually, Superman 2025 embraces a brighter and more optimistic tone than many recent superhero films. The cinematography highlights vibrant colors, expansive landscapes, and inspiring imagery that reflects the hopeful spirit of the title character. Flight sequences feel graceful and cinematic, while action scenes remain clear, energetic, and emotionally meaningful instead of becoming overwhelming visual chaos. The visual effects support the storytelling rather than overshadowing it, helping every major sequence feel exciting without distracting from the emotional journey of the characters. The musical score complements the film beautifully by blending heroic orchestral themes with quieter emotional compositions that reinforce the humanity behind Superman's extraordinary abilities. Every major musical cue strengthens the emotional impact of important moments without becoming overly dramatic. One of the movie's strongest achievements is its exploration of identity. Clark Kent constantly balances his Kryptonian heritage with the values he learned growing up on Earth, creating an emotional conflict that feels relatable despite the extraordinary setting. The screenplay treats this internal struggle with sincerity, allowing audiences to understand that Superman's greatest challenge is often emotional rather than physical. The supporting cast contributes effectively by expanding the world naturally and offering different perspectives on trust, leadership, responsibility, and public perception. Their presence gives the story additional depth without distracting from the central narrative. James Gunn carefully balances humor throughout the film, using lighter moments to strengthen character relationships rather than interrupt emotional scenes. This approach creates a satisfying rhythm that allows audiences to experience excitement, laughter, reflection, and inspiration within the same story. The production design deserves praise for creating environments that feel detailed, believable, and visually distinctive, helping establish a world that feels both familiar and larger than life. Costumes successfully modernize classic comic book designs while preserving the recognizable identity of beloved characters. Superman's costume in particular reflects confidence, optimism, and timeless heroism without feeling outdated. The film also succeeds because it understands that Superman represents an ideal rather than simply a collection of superpowers. Compassion, honesty, courage, humility, and hope remain at the center of every important decision, reminding audiences why the character has endured for generations. The screenplay consistently emphasizes emotional consequences, ensuring that major conflicts carry genuine weight beyond their visual scale. Even during the largest action sequences, attention remains focused on protecting lives instead of celebrating destruction. This choice gives the movie a stronger emotional foundation and distinguishes it from superhero films that rely primarily on spectacle. The pacing remains steady for most of the runtime, allowing quieter character moments enough room to breathe before transitioning naturally into larger dramatic developments. Although a few supporting characters could have benefited from additional screen time, their performances remain memorable and contribute positively to the overall experience. The dialogue frequently reflects optimism without becoming unrealistic, reinforcing Superman's belief that people are capable of choosing compassion over fear. This hopeful perspective becomes the emotional heart of the film and helps separate it from darker interpretations of the superhero genre. David Corenswet successfully establishes himself as a convincing Superman because his performance emphasizes empathy just as much as strength. Rachel Brosnahan consistently delivers confidence, intelligence, and emotional authenticity, while Nicholas Hoult creates a compelling antagonist whose ambition and intellect make him a believable challenge. Together, The three lead performances provide the emotional balance that drives the movie forward. From a technical perspective, the editing maintains momentum, the sound design enhances every major sequence, and the cinematography creates memorable visual compositions that reinforce both the emotional and heroic aspects of the story. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it remembers that audiences admire the character not only for his incredible abilities but also for his unwavering moral compass. The film celebrates hope during uncertain times, encouraging viewers to believe that kindness, integrity, and selflessness remain meaningful strengths. It offers exciting action, impressive visual effects, heartfelt performances, emotionally satisfying character development, and a confident creative direction that successfully launches a new chapter for DC on the big screen. While not entirely free from minor pacing issues or underdeveloped secondary characters, its emotional sincerity, optimistic tone, strong performances, memorable music, polished filmmaking, and respectful understanding of Superman's legacy make it one of the most satisfying modern superhero films and a promising foundation for the future of the DC Universe. One of the most impressive qualities of Superman 2025 is the confidence with which it rebuilds the identity of its central hero without depending entirely on nostalgia. Instead of constantly reminding the audience about the legacy of previous Superman films, the movie establishes its own personality through strong character writing, emotional sincerity, and a hopeful tone that remains consistent from beginning to end. James Gunn understands that Superman has always represented more than extraordinary physical abilities, and the film repeatedly emphasizes that true leadership begins with compassion, patience, honesty, and the willingness to help others without expecting recognition or reward. This philosophy becomes the emotional foundation of the entire experience and allows the character to feel timeless despite being introduced to a modern audience. David Corenswet deserves significant praise because his performance avoids unnecessary exaggeration and instead focuses on making Superman feel approachable and believable. His facial expressions, calm dialogue delivery, and quiet confidence communicate the character's emotional intelligence just as effectively as the larger heroic moments. Every interaction demonstrates that Superman genuinely listens before acting, making his decisions feel thoughtful rather than impulsive. Rachel Brosnahan continues to elevate every scene she appears in by portraying Lois Lane as a determined journalist whose intelligence consistently drives the narrative forward. She is not presented as someone waiting to be rescued but as a capable individual whose courage frequently matches the hero standing beside her. Their relationship develops through trust, mutual respect, and shared ideals, creating emotional authenticity that strengthens the entire film. Nicholas Hoult delivers an antagonist whose greatest weapon is not physical strength but relentless ambition. His interpretation highlights how intelligence without empathy can become dangerous, creating a fascinating contrast with Superman's belief that power should always serve humanity instead of personal ambition. The screenplay effectively explores this contrast by allowing both perspectives to challenge one another throughout the story, encouraging viewers to think about responsibility, influence, and the consequences of leadership. Visually, the film remains consistently impressive because every major sequence is designed to reinforce emotion instead of existing purely for spectacle. The cinematography frequently frames Superman against expansive skies and open landscapes, creating imagery that symbolizes hope, freedom, and limitless possibility. The use of natural lighting in many scenes contributes to the optimistic atmosphere while helping the environments feel grounded despite the extraordinary events taking place. Costume design also deserves recognition because it respects the classic appearance of Superman while introducing subtle modern refinements that make the character feel fresh without losing his iconic identity. The supporting cast contributes meaningful performances that enrich the world surrounding the main characters. Rather than existing only to advance the plot, these characters represent different viewpoints about heroism, justice, public trust, and responsibility, making the fictional universe feel more complete and believable. James Gunn carefully balances emotional conversations with moments of humor, ensuring that lighter scenes emerge naturally from character interactions instead of interrupting dramatic tension. This balance keeps the pacing engaging and prevents the film from becoming emotionally repetitive. The musical score remains one of the production's strongest technical achievements because it reinforces both intimate character moments and large-scale heroic sequences with equal effectiveness. The orchestral compositions communicate optimism without becoming overly sentimental, reminding audiences that hope remains the defining characteristic of Superman's journey. Sound design further enhances the experience by giving every important action sequence weight while allowing quieter emotional moments to remain equally impactful. Editing maintains a smooth rhythm that keeps viewers invested in the evolving relationships and larger conflicts without making transitions feel abrupt. Another strength of the film lies in its optimistic worldview. At a time when many superhero stories emphasize darkness, cynicism, or moral ambiguity, Superman 2025 confidently argues that kindness and integrity remain powerful qualities worthy of admiration. This message never feels forced because it grows naturally from the protagonist's actions and decisions. Rather than presenting optimism as weakness, the film demonstrates that maintaining hope during difficult circumstances often requires greater courage than responding with anger or fear. The screenplay consistently reinforces this idea, making the emotional themes resonate long after the credits roll. Although the movie occasionally introduces interesting supporting characters who could have benefited from additional development, their limited screen time rarely diminishes the overall impact because the central performances remain consistently compelling. The production design creates locations filled with detail and personality, helping every setting contribute to the atmosphere of the story. From a filmmaking perspective, the movie demonstrates careful attention to visual composition, practical effects, digital enhancement, and emotional storytelling, resulting in an experience that feels polished without becoming artificial. James Gunn successfully respects decades of Superman history while confidently introducing a direction that feels appropriate for a new generation of audiences. Instead of attempting to imitate earlier adaptations, he embraces the timeless values that made the character beloved while presenting them through contemporary filmmaking techniques and emotionally grounded performances. The result is a superhero film that succeeds because it remembers that audiences connect most deeply with authentic characters rather than visual spectacle alone. Superman 2025 leaves a lasting impression by celebrating empathy, resilience, responsibility, and hope, proving that these qualities remain just as inspiring today as they were when the character first appeared. Its combination of heartfelt performances, confident direction, memorable music, impressive visuals, meaningful themes, and emotional sincerity establishes it as one of the strongest modern interpretations of the legendary hero and provides a solid foundation for future stories within the evolving DC universe. A major reason Superman 2025 resonates with audiences is its commitment to portraying heroism as a matter of character rather than raw strength. Throughout the film, the narrative consistently reminds viewers that extraordinary abilities alone do not define a hero. What truly separates Superman from everyone around him is his willingness to remain compassionate, calm, and morally grounded even when faced with enormous pressure. This approach gives the story emotional weight because every important decision reflects the values that Clark Kent learned long before he embraced his identity as Superman. Instead of presenting him as an unreachable legend, the film allows him to remain deeply human in his emotions, doubts, and relationships. David Corenswet delivers a performance built on quiet confidence instead of dramatic exaggeration. His interpretation succeeds because he communicates warmth through simple expressions, measured dialogue, and thoughtful reactions, making every interaction feel sincere. The contrast between Clark Kent's humble personality and Superman's commanding presence is handled naturally, creating a believable dual identity that never feels forced. Rachel Brosnahan continues to impress by portraying Lois Lane as a journalist driven by truth, courage, and determination. She contributes meaningfully to the emotional core of the story through intelligence and integrity rather than simply supporting the protagonist. Her conversations with Clark reveal mutual respect and emotional honesty, making their relationship one of the film's strongest elements. Nicholas Hoult's portrayal of Lex Luthor remains compelling because the character represents ambition without compassion. His confidence, intelligence, and relentless pursuit of control create an antagonist whose danger comes from strategic thinking rather than physical intimidation. This contrast strengthens the central themes by placing empathy against ego and responsibility against personal obsession. James Gunn's screenplay carefully explores these ideas without sacrificing entertainment, ensuring that emotional development remains just as engaging as the film's larger visual moments. The cinematography deserves significant recognition for presenting Superman as a symbol of hope through bright compositions, expansive landscapes, and carefully framed heroic imagery. Every visual choice reinforces optimism instead of relying on excessive darkness, allowing the tone to remain uplifting while still acknowledging serious emotional conflicts. The visual effects integrate smoothly with practical filmmaking, creating action sequences that feel exciting without overshadowing the characters. Rather than overwhelming audiences with non-stop spectacle, the movie uses large-scale moments to reinforce emotional stakes, making every confrontation feel meaningful. The musical score continues to elevate the experience by combining inspiring orchestral themes with softer emotional melodies that reflect Clark Kent's personal journey. Music never dominates the narrative but consistently strengthens the atmosphere surrounding important scenes. The editing also deserves praise because it maintains a balanced rhythm, allowing emotional conversations, character interactions, and action sequences to flow naturally without disrupting the pacing. Another impressive aspect of the film is its ability to present optimism without appearing unrealistic. Superman believes in humanity despite witnessing fear, conflict, and uncertainty, and the screenplay consistently reinforces this belief through his actions rather than lengthy speeches. His choices demonstrate that hope is something earned through consistent acts of courage and compassion instead of empty promises. This message becomes increasingly powerful because it feels genuine and emotionally grounded. Supporting characters contribute additional perspectives on leadership, justice, and public trust, helping the fictional world feel richer while supporting the central narrative. Production design further enhances immersion by creating environments that appear both visually striking and believable, allowing every location to contribute to the overall emotional tone. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic inspirations while preserving the timeless identity of each major character. Superman's iconic appearance reflects confidence, dignity, and optimism without losing the familiarity that longtime fans appreciate. The screenplay also succeeds by respecting the intelligence of its audience, allowing emotional moments to develop naturally instead of relying on excessive exposition. Character motivations remain clear because they emerge through actions, conversations, and meaningful choices rather than constant explanation. Even when the story explores larger themes involving responsibility, identity, and sacrifice, it remains accessible because those ideas are rooted in relatable human emotions. James Gunn demonstrates a clear understanding that Superman's greatest appeal has always been his unwavering commitment to doing what is right even when easier alternatives exist. This philosophy remains at the heart of every important moment, giving the film emotional consistency from beginning to end. Although a handful of supporting roles could have benefited from greater development, their performances still contribute positively to the overall experience and never distract from the central narrative. Technically, the film remains polished across every department, from cinematography and editing to sound design and visual effects, resulting in a production that feels carefully crafted from beginning to end. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it understands that audiences continue to admire the character not simply because he can accomplish extraordinary feats but because he chooses compassion over anger, hope over despair, and responsibility over personal ambition. By combining heartfelt performances, confident direction, memorable music, impressive visuals, emotionally satisfying storytelling, and timeless themes, the film establishes itself as a meaningful modern interpretation of one of popular culture's most enduring heroes while laying a strong and optimistic foundation for the future of the DC Universe. The lasting strength of Superman 2025 comes from its ability to remind audiences why this character has remained relevant for generations. Instead of attempting to redefine Superman through unnecessary complexity, the film embraces the timeless qualities that have always made him unique. Compassion, integrity, humility, courage, and hope remain the foundation of every important moment, creating a story that feels emotionally sincere from beginning to end. James Gunn approaches the material with a clear understanding that Superman is more than a superhero capable of extraordinary feats. He is presented as a symbol of optimism whose greatest victories are achieved through empathy and moral conviction rather than overwhelming physical power. This creative direction allows the movie to feel refreshing while remaining faithful to the spirit of the character. David Corenswet continues to impress with a performance that balances quiet humanity and inspiring confidence. His Clark Kent is thoughtful, respectful, and approachable, while his Superman projects calm determination instead of arrogance. This contrast makes both identities believable because they are connected by the same compassionate personality. Every conversation reveals a man who genuinely values people, making his heroic actions feel like natural extensions of his character instead of dramatic displays of strength. Rachel Brosnahan delivers another outstanding performance as Lois Lane, bringing intelligence, determination, and emotional maturity to every scene. Her portrayal emphasizes curiosity, courage, and professional integrity, allowing her to stand beside Superman as an equal rather than existing solely to support his journey. Their relationship grows through mutual admiration and trust, creating emotional depth that strengthens the overall narrative. Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor remains one of the film's strongest elements because his intelligence is consistently portrayed as both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. His relentless desire for influence gradually transforms into obsession, providing a meaningful contrast to Superman's selfless nature. This conflict is built on ideology as much as personal rivalry, giving their interactions greater dramatic impact. Visually, Superman 2025 succeeds by embracing vibrant colors, expansive environments, and inspiring compositions that reinforce its optimistic tone. The cinematography frequently highlights the beauty of open skies and hopeful imagery, reminding audiences that Superman represents possibility rather than fear. Action sequences are energetic and visually impressive, yet they never lose sight of the emotional stakes driving the characters. Rather than existing purely to showcase visual effects, every major confrontation contributes to the development of relationships, values, and personal growth. The special effects blend smoothly with practical filmmaking, creating an immersive experience without overwhelming the story. The musical score continues to elevate the emotional atmosphere by combining heroic orchestral themes with quieter moments that reflect Clark Kent's internal struggles and relationships. Every composition feels purposeful, strengthening dramatic scenes while allowing emotional moments to resonate naturally. Sound design enhances the scale of important sequences while preserving clarity during quieter conversations, demonstrating careful technical craftsmanship throughout the production. The screenplay consistently reinforces the idea that hope is not blind optimism but a conscious decision made even during difficult circumstances. Superman repeatedly chooses compassion when anger would be easier, understanding when judgment would be simpler, and sacrifice when personal comfort would be more appealing. These choices define his character far more effectively than any display of extraordinary ability. Supporting characters contribute additional emotional perspectives, helping the fictional world feel authentic and lived in while expanding the themes of responsibility, justice, and public trust. Production design deserves recognition for creating environments that support the emotional tone of every sequence through detailed architecture, realistic locations, and carefully designed settings. Costume design modernizes familiar comic book imagery while preserving the classic identity that audiences recognize immediately. Superman's appearance reflects confidence, dignity, and timeless heroism without sacrificing practicality or visual appeal. The editing maintains a steady pace that allows emotional conversations, quieter reflective moments, and large-scale action to coexist naturally without disrupting the flow of the narrative. Although a few secondary characters could have benefited from additional development, the strength of the central performances ensures that the emotional focus never weakens. James Gunn demonstrates confidence by allowing meaningful character interactions to carry just as much importance as visual spectacle, proving that genuine emotional investment creates a more memorable cinematic experience than constant action alone. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it celebrates humanity through the perspective of a hero capable of extraordinary things yet guided by ordinary values such as kindness, honesty, respect, and compassion. These qualities remain the true source of his strength, making the film emotionally satisfying as well as visually entertaining. By combining excellent performances, confident direction, polished technical craftsmanship, memorable music, inspiring themes, and heartfelt storytelling, the movie establishes itself as a successful beginning for a new era of DC films while reminding audiences that hope remains one of the most powerful ideas any superhero can represent. Another reason Superman 2025 stands out among modern superhero films is its unwavering commitment to emotional storytelling. Rather than relying exclusively on large-scale action or visual spectacle, the film continuously reminds the audience that the heart of every memorable superhero story lies within its characters. James Gunn carefully builds an atmosphere where every important decision reflects personal values instead of simple victories or defeats. This approach gives the narrative a level of maturity that allows viewers to become emotionally invested in the people rather than focusing only on the conflicts surrounding them. Superman is portrayed as someone who believes that genuine strength begins with compassion, patience, and responsibility. These qualities shape every important moment and reinforce the timeless ideals that have always defined the character. David Corenswet delivers a remarkably balanced performance by presenting Clark Kent as humble, thoughtful, and emotionally grounded while allowing Superman to project quiet confidence without becoming intimidating. His performance never depends on exaggerated heroics because his greatest strength comes from sincerity and kindness. Every interaction demonstrates a deep respect for the people around him, making his heroic identity feel authentic instead of symbolic. Rachel Brosnahan continues to elevate the emotional quality of the film through her confident portrayal of Lois Lane. She represents intelligence, determination, and professional integrity, consistently proving that courage is not measured through physical power alone. Her presence strengthens the story because she actively influences events through observation, investigation, and unwavering commitment to discovering the truth. The chemistry between Lois and Clark develops naturally through mutual admiration, trust, and emotional honesty, creating one of the film's most satisfying relationships. Nicholas Hoult delivers an intelligent and layered interpretation of Lex Luthor by emphasizing ambition, control, and relentless determination. His performance avoids simplistic villainy and instead explores how extraordinary intelligence can become destructive when separated from empathy and moral responsibility. This philosophical contrast between Superman and Luthor becomes one of the strongest aspects of the screenplay because both characters represent completely different beliefs about leadership, influence, and power. The cinematography consistently reinforces the hopeful atmosphere through bright visual compositions, expansive landscapes, and carefully designed framing that celebrates optimism instead of fear. Superman is frequently presented against open skies and natural light, emphasizing the inspirational qualities that define the character. These visual choices create memorable imagery while supporting the emotional tone established by the screenplay. The visual effects remain polished throughout the film, enhancing rather than overwhelming the storytelling. Every major action sequence serves a dramatic purpose by strengthening emotional stakes instead of existing solely to impress visually. The choreography remains clear and energetic, allowing audiences to appreciate both the scale of the action and the emotional consequences connected to each confrontation. The musical score deserves particular praise because it captures the hopeful spirit of Superman through powerful orchestral themes that inspire confidence while also supporting quieter emotional moments with subtle compositions. Music consistently strengthens important scenes without distracting from performances or dialogue. Sound design complements this achievement by creating an immersive cinematic experience where every emotional conversation and action sequence receives equal attention. Editing maintains an engaging rhythm that balances character development, emotional reflection, humor, and large-scale spectacle without making the narrative feel rushed or repetitive. One of the film's greatest accomplishments is its willingness to embrace optimism without appearing unrealistic. Superman continues believing in humanity even when faced with misunderstanding, fear, and opposition, demonstrating that hope requires courage rather than innocence. This message resonates because it emerges naturally through his choices instead of relying on lengthy speeches or forced emotional moments. Supporting characters contribute valuable perspectives that enrich the fictional world while reinforcing themes involving justice, responsibility, and public trust. Their performances create a believable environment where different opinions coexist, making the narrative feel more authentic and emotionally layered. Production design also deserves recognition for creating visually distinctive environments that support the atmosphere of every major sequence. Locations appear detailed, believable, and carefully constructed, helping audiences become fully immersed in the world. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic book appearances while preserving the recognizable identities that fans appreciate. Superman's costume reflects confidence, hope, and timeless heroism without sacrificing practicality or elegance. James Gunn demonstrates a clear understanding that meaningful storytelling depends on emotional consistency rather than constant spectacle. Every important relationship receives enough attention to create genuine investment, ensuring that dramatic moments feel earned rather than manufactured. Even when the film expands its larger cinematic universe, it never loses focus on Clark Kent's personal journey and the values that define him. This disciplined approach allows Superman to remain the emotional center of the story from beginning to end. Although some supporting characters could have received additional development, their contributions remain effective because the lead performances consistently maintain the film's emotional momentum. Technically, the production succeeds across every department, combining excellent cinematography, polished visual effects, effective editing, memorable music, and thoughtful production design into a cohesive cinematic experience. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it understands that audiences admire the character for his moral character just as much as his extraordinary abilities. By celebrating empathy, integrity, courage, humility, and hope, the film creates an inspiring experience that feels both contemporary and faithful to Superman's enduring legacy. Strong performances, confident direction, emotionally satisfying storytelling, impressive technical craftsmanship, and meaningful themes combine to establish the film as a worthy beginning for a new chapter in the DC universe while reminding viewers that true heroism is defined not by power but by the choices made in service of others. One of the most admirable aspects of Superman 2025 is the confidence with which it presents its central message without compromising entertainment. Instead of trying to imitate the tone of previous superhero films, the movie establishes its own identity by focusing on hope, compassion, and personal responsibility. James Gunn demonstrates a clear understanding of what has made Superman one of the most enduring fictional characters in popular culture. Rather than emphasizing invincibility, the film repeatedly highlights emotional resilience, moral discipline, and the importance of making the right choice even when easier alternatives exist. This approach creates a version of Superman who feels inspirational because of his humanity instead of simply his extraordinary abilities. David Corenswet continues to deliver a performance filled with warmth, humility, and quiet confidence. His portrayal allows audiences to believe that Clark Kent and Superman are two sides of the same compassionate individual rather than completely separate personalities. Every emotional moment feels sincere because his expressions, dialogue delivery, and body language communicate kindness before strength. Rachel Brosnahan maintains the same impressive level of authenticity throughout the film by portraying Lois Lane as determined, intelligent, and fearless. She consistently demonstrates that courage comes from conviction rather than physical power, making her one of the most memorable characters in the story. Her relationship with Clark grows naturally through mutual trust and emotional honesty, allowing their connection to become one of the strongest emotional foundations of the narrative. Nicholas Hoult's performance as Lex Luthor continues to impress because he represents ambition driven by ego instead of responsibility. His intelligence is never questioned, yet the film carefully illustrates how brilliance without empathy can become destructive. This philosophical conflict between Superman and Luthor becomes far more engaging than a traditional battle between hero and villain because it reflects two completely different beliefs about leadership, influence, and the purpose of power. Visually, the film remains consistently beautiful. The cinematography embraces bright colors, natural lighting, and expansive environments that reinforce the optimistic atmosphere. Instead of relying on darkness to create seriousness, the movie proves that inspiring imagery can carry just as much emotional impact. Flight sequences are graceful and visually memorable, while action scenes remain easy to follow because the camera prioritizes clarity over unnecessary visual chaos. Every major sequence is carefully designed to support emotional storytelling rather than existing solely for spectacle. The visual effects integrate seamlessly with practical filmmaking techniques, creating an immersive experience that feels polished without becoming artificial. The musical score deserves continued recognition for its ability to strengthen every emotional beat. Heroic orchestral themes create excitement during larger moments, while softer compositions support quieter scenes with remarkable sensitivity. Sound design complements these strengths by giving emotional conversations and action sequences equal importance, ensuring that neither overwhelms the other. Editing maintains a smooth rhythm throughout the film, allowing dramatic developments, character interactions, and lighter moments to flow naturally without disrupting the pacing. Another remarkable quality of Superman 2025 is its belief that optimism remains relevant in contemporary storytelling. The screenplay argues that hope is not naive but courageous, especially during moments of uncertainty. Superman consistently chooses understanding over anger, cooperation over fear, and sacrifice over personal comfort, reinforcing the timeless ideals that have always defined the character. These decisions never feel artificial because they emerge naturally from his personality and experiences. Supporting characters continue to enrich the world by representing different perspectives on justice, responsibility, and public trust. Their interactions help create a believable society that reacts realistically to extraordinary circumstances, making the fictional universe feel emotionally authentic. Production design deserves praise for creating detailed environments that reflect both realism and imagination. Every location feels carefully constructed, enhancing immersion while supporting the emotional tone of each sequence. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic inspirations without losing the iconic appearance that audiences immediately recognize. Superman's suit represents dignity, confidence, and hope while remaining practical within the film's visual style. James Gunn also deserves credit for balancing emotional sincerity with moments of humor. The lighter scenes emerge naturally from character relationships instead of interrupting dramatic momentum, making the film feel emotionally balanced from beginning to end. This careful approach prevents the story from becoming either excessively serious or unnecessarily comedic. Technically, the production remains impressive across every department. Cinematography, editing, visual effects, sound design, music, and production design work together harmoniously to create a cinematic experience that feels both emotionally engaging and visually satisfying. Even when the narrative explores larger themes involving responsibility, identity, and leadership, it remains accessible because every philosophical idea is rooted in believable human emotion. Although a few secondary characters could have benefited from additional screen time, the strength of the lead performances ensures that the emotional focus never weakens. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it reminds audiences that genuine heroism is measured through integrity, compassion, humility, and unwavering dedication to helping others. By combining outstanding performances, thoughtful direction, meaningful themes, polished technical craftsmanship, memorable music, and emotionally satisfying storytelling, the film establishes itself as a respectful and inspiring interpretation of one of the world's most beloved superheroes while providing a confident and optimistic foundation for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 continues to leave a positive impression because it understands that the true appeal of the character has never been limited to extraordinary abilities alone. The film consistently emphasizes that genuine heroism is defined by empathy, responsibility, honesty, and the willingness to place the needs of others above personal recognition. This philosophy becomes the emotional heartbeat of the entire experience, allowing the story to remain engaging even during its quieter moments. James Gunn approaches the material with confidence, creating a film that respects decades of Superman history while presenting a fresh interpretation suitable for modern audiences. Instead of relying on constant spectacle, the narrative invests heavily in character development, meaningful relationships, and emotional authenticity. David Corenswet delivers another remarkable performance by portraying Superman with calm confidence and sincere compassion. His version of Clark Kent feels approachable, intelligent, and humble, making the transition between his two identities believable without depending on exaggerated differences. His expressions, dialogue delivery, and emotional restraint help establish a hero who inspires through kindness as much as strength. Rachel Brosnahan once again proves why her portrayal of Lois Lane is among the strongest aspects of the film. She brings intelligence, determination, courage, and emotional maturity to every scene, ensuring that her character remains an essential part of the narrative rather than existing merely to support the protagonist. The relationship between Lois and Clark develops through trust, understanding, and shared values, creating emotional moments that feel earned and authentic. Nicholas Hoult continues to impress with a performance that presents Lex Luthor as a highly intelligent individual whose obsession with influence gradually overshadows his judgment. Rather than becoming a one-dimensional antagonist, he represents the dangers of ambition disconnected from empathy, creating a compelling ideological contrast with Superman's unwavering commitment to compassion and responsibility. The screenplay succeeds because it explores these opposing philosophies through character interactions instead of relying solely on dramatic confrontations. Visually, the film remains consistently striking. Bright cinematography, carefully composed imagery, and expansive environments reinforce the hopeful atmosphere that defines Superman's identity. Every major visual sequence reflects optimism without sacrificing dramatic intensity, proving that inspiring imagery can be just as powerful as darker cinematic styles. The visual effects are polished and integrated naturally into the storytelling, enhancing the experience without overshadowing the emotional core of the narrative. Action sequences are exciting because they remain connected to character motivations and emotional consequences instead of existing purely for spectacle. The musical score continues to elevate every important moment by combining uplifting orchestral themes with subtle emotional compositions that strengthen the personal journey of Clark Kent. Sound design complements these strengths by providing clarity, scale, and emotional depth throughout the film. Editing maintains a smooth and engaging pace, ensuring that conversations, emotional reflections, lighter moments, and action sequences transition naturally without interrupting the overall rhythm of the story. One of the film's most admirable qualities is its belief that hope remains relevant regardless of changing times. Superman consistently demonstrates patience, forgiveness, and integrity even when confronted by misunderstanding and opposition, reinforcing the idea that moral courage often requires greater strength than physical power. This message resonates because it emerges through actions rather than lengthy speeches, allowing audiences to experience the characters' values instead of simply hearing them explained. Supporting characters continue to enrich the world by representing different viewpoints on leadership, justice, public trust, and responsibility, making the fictional universe feel more complete and believable. Production design deserves recognition for creating visually detailed locations that enhance immersion while supporting the emotional atmosphere of each sequence. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic inspirations without losing the timeless identity associated with Superman and the surrounding characters. James Gunn balances humor with emotional sincerity in a way that feels natural and respectful, allowing lighter interactions to strengthen relationships instead of diminishing dramatic moments. This careful balance keeps the film entertaining while preserving its emotional credibility from beginning to end. Technically, Superman 2025 remains impressive across every department, with excellent cinematography, memorable music, polished visual effects, thoughtful editing, and strong production values combining into a cohesive cinematic experience. Although a small number of supporting characters could have received additional development, the overall narrative remains emotionally satisfying because the central performances consistently maintain the audience's investment. Ultimately, Superman 2025 succeeds by celebrating timeless ideals such as kindness, courage, humility, sacrifice, and unwavering hope. These qualities transform the film into more than a traditional superhero adventure, presenting it as a meaningful story about choosing compassion in a world often defined by fear and division. With outstanding performances, confident direction, emotionally grounded storytelling, memorable technical craftsmanship, and a clear understanding of Superman's enduring legacy, the film establishes itself as an inspiring beginning for the new DC universe and reminds audiences that the greatest heroes are remembered not only for what they can do but for the values they choose to live by. Superman 2025 reinforces its emotional impact by demonstrating that the greatest victories are often achieved through patience, compassion, and unwavering determination rather than overwhelming displays of power. From beginning to end, the film remains committed to portraying Superman as a symbol of hope whose actions are guided by empathy instead of ego. This creative direction gives the story a refreshing identity, allowing it to stand apart from many recent superhero films that focus primarily on darker themes or relentless action. James Gunn approaches the character with genuine respect, understanding that Superman has always represented optimism during uncertain times. Instead of changing the hero's core values, the film celebrates them while presenting a modern interpretation that feels relevant for contemporary audiences. David Corenswet continues to impress by delivering a performance filled with sincerity, emotional intelligence, and quiet confidence. His Clark Kent remains humble and approachable, while his Superman inspires trust through calm leadership rather than intimidation. The transition between these two identities feels effortless because both versions are connected by the same compassionate personality. Rachel Brosnahan once again brings remarkable depth to Lois Lane, portraying her as fearless, intelligent, and emotionally mature. She contributes significantly to the narrative through her determination to pursue the truth, proving repeatedly that courage exists in many different forms. Her relationship with Clark develops through shared ideals, mutual respect, and genuine understanding, creating emotional moments that feel authentic and meaningful. Nicholas Hoult delivers another compelling performance as Lex Luthor by emphasizing the dangers of ambition without compassion. His intelligence, confidence, and relentless pursuit of control make him a formidable opponent, but the film wisely focuses on the ideological differences between him and Superman instead of reducing their conflict to a simple confrontation. This philosophical contrast strengthens the screenplay by encouraging viewers to reflect on the purpose of leadership, influence, and responsibility. Visually, Superman 2025 remains consistently breathtaking. Bright colors, expansive environments, and carefully composed cinematography create a hopeful atmosphere that reflects the hero's optimistic worldview. The camera frequently emphasizes openness and light, reinforcing the idea that Superman represents possibility rather than fear. Every visual composition serves the emotional narrative, ensuring that the film never sacrifices character development for spectacle. The visual effects are polished and seamlessly integrated into the storytelling, allowing the action sequences to feel exciting while remaining emotionally grounded. Rather than relying on excessive destruction, the film consistently highlights the importance of protecting innocent lives, making every heroic moment feel purposeful and inspiring. The musical score continues to elevate the experience through memorable orchestral themes that capture both the grandeur of Superman and the emotional intimacy of Clark Kent. Softer musical passages support reflective scenes, while heroic compositions inspire excitement without overpowering the performances. Sound design further enhances the film by creating an immersive atmosphere where every conversation, emotional moment, and action sequence receives careful attention. Editing maintains an effective rhythm that balances dramatic storytelling, character interactions, humor, and action without making the narrative feel rushed. One of the film's most admirable qualities is its refusal to abandon optimism. Superman consistently demonstrates that kindness, honesty, and integrity remain powerful even when confronted by fear, misunderstanding, and opposition. The screenplay presents these ideals through meaningful choices instead of lengthy speeches, allowing audiences to connect naturally with the characters' values. Supporting characters enrich the world by offering different perspectives on justice, responsibility, public trust, and heroism, making the fictional universe feel believable and emotionally layered. Production design deserves recognition for creating environments filled with detail, realism, and visual personality, helping every location contribute to the atmosphere of the story. Costume design modernizes classic comic book inspirations while preserving the timeless identity that audiences immediately recognize. Superman's appearance reflects dignity, confidence, and hope without losing the simplicity that has always defined the character. James Gunn also demonstrates remarkable control over tone, ensuring that moments of humor emerge organically from character relationships rather than interrupting emotional momentum. This balance creates a viewing experience that remains engaging throughout the film, allowing audiences to laugh, reflect, and feel inspired without tonal inconsistency. Technically, Superman 2025 excels across every department, combining impressive cinematography, memorable music, polished visual effects, thoughtful editing, excellent performances, and carefully crafted production design into a cohesive cinematic experience. Although a few supporting characters could have benefited from additional exploration, the central narrative remains emotionally satisfying because of the exceptional work delivered by the lead cast. Ultimately, Superman 2025 succeeds because it remembers that true heroism is defined by compassion, humility, responsibility, and the courage to inspire others through actions rather than words. By blending heartfelt performances, meaningful themes, confident direction, visual excellence, emotional sincerity, and timeless optimism, the film establishes itself as one of the strongest modern interpretations of Superman while laying a hopeful and emotionally compelling foundation for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 earns much of its success by proving that a superhero film can remain emotionally engaging without sacrificing optimism or sincerity. Throughout the film, James Gunn demonstrates a clear understanding that audiences connect most deeply with characters whose choices reflect genuine humanity rather than invincibility. The story consistently reinforces the belief that extraordinary abilities are meaningful only when guided by compassion, responsibility, and integrity. This philosophy becomes the emotional foundation of the entire experience, allowing Superman to inspire through his actions instead of relying solely on visual spectacle. David Corenswet continues to impress by presenting a version of Clark Kent who feels authentic, thoughtful, and emotionally grounded. His performance never depends on exaggerated heroics because his greatest strength lies in the quiet confidence he brings to every scene. Whether interacting with friends, colleagues, or strangers, he projects kindness and patience that naturally evolve into the inspirational qualities associated with Superman. This restrained approach makes his heroic moments feel even more powerful because they emerge from character rather than performance alone. Rachel Brosnahan delivers another outstanding performance by portraying Lois Lane as intelligent, fearless, and emotionally resilient. She remains driven by curiosity, honesty, and professional integrity, creating a character whose influence extends far beyond traditional supporting roles. Her dynamic with Clark Kent continues to develop through trust, mutual admiration, and shared principles, resulting in one of the strongest emotional relationships in the film. Nicholas Hoult's portrayal of Lex Luthor remains compelling because his character represents ambition unchecked by empathy. His intelligence is undeniable, yet his relentless pursuit of control gradually reveals the dangers of allowing pride to replace compassion. This contrast with Superman strengthens the screenplay by presenting two opposing philosophies about leadership and responsibility, making their conflict intellectually engaging as well as emotionally satisfying. Visually, the film maintains an uplifting identity through vibrant cinematography, expansive compositions, and carefully balanced lighting that reflects Superman's hopeful nature. Every major frame communicates optimism without reducing the seriousness of the dramatic moments. The visual effects are consistently polished, enhancing the emotional impact of important sequences rather than overwhelming them. Action scenes remain exciting because they prioritize clarity, purpose, and emotional consequences instead of relying on excessive destruction. The choreography reflects Superman's desire to protect rather than dominate, reinforcing the character's moral values through visual storytelling. The musical score continues to be one of the production's greatest strengths, blending inspiring orchestral themes with intimate emotional melodies that deepen the audience's connection to Clark Kent's personal journey. Sound design complements the music by creating an immersive atmosphere where every conversation, emotional exchange, and action sequence feels balanced and impactful. Editing ensures that the narrative flows smoothly between quieter character moments, humorous interactions, and larger dramatic developments, maintaining a rhythm that keeps viewers emotionally invested throughout the film. One of the most admirable achievements of Superman 2025 is its confidence in presenting hope as a meaningful strength rather than a simplistic ideal. The screenplay repeatedly demonstrates that choosing compassion requires courage, especially during moments of uncertainty and conflict. Superman's decisions consistently reflect patience, empathy, and moral discipline, reminding audiences that genuine leadership is measured by the ability to inspire trust rather than command fear. Supporting characters contribute valuable perspectives that enrich the fictional world while reinforcing themes involving justice, accountability, and public confidence. Their interactions help create a believable society that reacts naturally to extraordinary events, making the larger narrative feel emotionally grounded. Production design deserves praise for creating detailed and visually memorable environments that enhance immersion without distracting from the characters. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic book aesthetics while preserving the iconic identity that audiences have associated with Superman for decades. James Gunn also deserves recognition for balancing emotional sincerity with moments of humor that arise organically from the personalities of the characters instead of interrupting dramatic momentum. This careful tonal control ensures that the film remains entertaining while preserving its emotional credibility. Technically, every department contributes to a polished cinematic experience, from cinematography and visual effects to editing, music, and sound design. Although several secondary characters could have benefited from additional exploration, the strength of the central performances ensures that the emotional focus remains clear and compelling. Ultimately, Superman 2025 succeeds because it embraces timeless values such as honesty, humility, sacrifice, perseverance, and hope without allowing them to feel outdated. The film demonstrates that genuine heroism is not defined by limitless strength but by the willingness to act with compassion even when faced with overwhelming challenges. Through exceptional performances, confident direction, meaningful storytelling, memorable music, impressive visual craftsmanship, and a sincere respect for Superman's enduring legacy, the film establishes itself as an inspiring modern superhero experience and a strong foundation for the continuing future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 continues to stand out because it understands that audiences expect more than visually impressive action from a modern superhero film. The movie succeeds by combining emotional storytelling, memorable performances, strong filmmaking, and a hopeful atmosphere that feels refreshing in today's superhero genre. Directed and written by James Gunn, the film confidently introduces a new direction for DC Studios while respecting the legacy of one of the world's most recognizable superheroes. James Gunn avoids making Superman an unreachable figure and instead presents him as someone whose compassion, humility, and sense of responsibility define his greatness far more than his extraordinary powers. David Corenswet proves himself to be an excellent choice for the role by delivering a performance that feels sincere, calm, and emotionally believable. His version of Clark Kent reflects kindness and intelligence, while his Superman inspires confidence through quiet leadership instead of arrogance. Rachel Brosnahan gives Lois Lane remarkable energy and authenticity, portraying her as a fearless journalist whose intelligence and determination make her an equal partner rather than a supporting figure. Nicholas Hoult delivers a convincing Lex Luthor by emphasizing intellect, ambition, and psychological manipulation, creating an antagonist whose greatest weapon is his mind instead of physical strength. The chemistry between the lead actors remains one of the strongest qualities of the movie, helping emotional scenes feel genuine and natural. Visually, the film is impressive throughout, featuring bright cinematography, detailed production design, polished costumes, and high-quality visual effects that support the story instead of overwhelming it. Superman's costume successfully modernizes the classic comic book appearance while preserving its iconic identity, and the overall visual presentation gives the film a distinctive personality that separates it from darker superhero adaptations. The background score enhances every important emotional and heroic moment with orchestral compositions that capture hope, courage, and inspiration without becoming repetitive. Sound design remains equally effective, making dialogue, emotional exchanges, and action sequences feel immersive and balanced. The editing keeps the pacing steady, allowing quieter character moments to receive enough attention before transitioning into larger dramatic sequences. One of the movie's greatest strengths is its optimistic tone. Instead of focusing only on destruction or conflict, the film repeatedly emphasizes hope, compassion, sacrifice, honesty, and responsibility. These themes are presented naturally through the characters' choices, making the emotional message feel authentic rather than forced. The screenplay pays careful attention to character relationships, ensuring that conversations and emotional development remain just as important as action. The supporting cast also contributes positively, helping create a believable world where different perspectives on justice, leadership, and public trust enrich the overall narrative. The movie is particularly successful because it never forgets that Superman represents inspiration. Every important creative decision reinforces this idea, from the performances and dialogue to the cinematography and musical score. Although a few secondary characters could have received additional development and some viewers may wish certain relationships had more screen time, these are relatively minor issues compared with the film's overall achievements. From a technical standpoint, Superman 2025 demonstrates high production quality in nearly every department, including cinematography, visual effects, editing, music, costume design, and production design. The film offers emotional storytelling, memorable performances, exciting action, polished visuals, meaningful themes, and a hopeful atmosphere that distinguishes it from many recent superhero releases. For viewers looking for a superhero movie that balances entertainment with emotional depth and strong character work, Superman 2025 is absolutely worth watching. It respects the legacy of the character while successfully introducing a fresh interpretation for a new generation, making it one of the strongest recent entries in the superhero genre and a confident foundation for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 further establishes its identity by demonstrating that a successful superhero film is built on emotional credibility as much as visual spectacle. James Gunn approaches the material with a clear creative vision, focusing on the timeless qualities that have always defined Superman while presenting them through a contemporary cinematic style. Rather than relying solely on action, the film invests heavily in character relationships, moral choices, and the emotional responsibilities that accompany extraordinary abilities. This approach gives the story a sense of maturity and allows audiences to connect with the characters on a personal level. David Corenswet delivers a confident and heartfelt performance that captures both the humility of Clark Kent and the inspiring presence of Superman. His calm demeanor, thoughtful dialogue delivery, and genuine compassion make the character feel approachable without diminishing his heroic image. Rachel Brosnahan continues to impress as Lois Lane, portraying her as a determined journalist whose intelligence, courage, and integrity contribute significantly to the narrative. Her performance brings emotional balance to the story, and her interactions with Clark Kent strengthen the film by emphasizing trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Nicholas Hoult's interpretation of Lex Luthor remains compelling because he represents the dangers of ambition driven by ego instead of responsibility. His intelligence and calculated decisions create an effective ideological contrast with Superman, reinforcing the film's central themes about leadership, influence, and accountability. Visually, Superman 2025 delivers a polished cinematic experience through vibrant cinematography, detailed production design, impressive visual effects, and carefully composed imagery that consistently reflects hope and optimism. The film embraces bright colors and expansive environments, giving the world a distinctive identity that separates it from darker superhero adaptations. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic book elements while preserving the iconic appearance associated with Superman, creating a look that feels both familiar and contemporary. The musical score provides another major strength, blending inspiring orchestral themes with emotional compositions that support quieter character moments without overpowering them. Sound design enhances every important sequence by maintaining clarity and balance across dialogue, action, and music, while the editing ensures that emotional scenes, character development, humor, and large-scale spectacle transition smoothly throughout the narrative. One of the film's greatest accomplishments is its unwavering belief in hope as a meaningful strength. Superman consistently demonstrates that courage is measured not only by physical ability but also by patience, compassion, humility, and the willingness to protect others even under difficult circumstances. These values are communicated naturally through character decisions instead of lengthy exposition, making the emotional message feel authentic and relatable. Supporting characters help expand the world by representing different perspectives on justice, responsibility, and public trust, adding depth to the narrative without distracting from the central focus. Although some secondary roles could have benefited from additional development, the strength of the lead performances ensures that the emotional core remains engaging from beginning to end. From a technical perspective, the movie succeeds through its combination of excellent performances, confident direction, memorable music, polished visual effects, thoughtful editing, and impressive production values. For viewers seeking a superhero film that balances exciting entertainment with emotional depth, meaningful themes, and strong character work, Superman 2025 offers a satisfying cinematic experience. Its optimistic tone, respectful treatment of the iconic hero, and commitment to timeless values such as honesty, kindness, sacrifice, and responsibility make it a worthy addition to the Superman legacy and a promising foundation for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 is a refreshing and emotionally grounded superhero film that successfully reintroduces one of cinema's most iconic characters with sincerity and confidence. James Gunn's direction focuses on hope, compassion, and responsibility instead of relying only on large-scale action, giving the film a strong emotional identity. David Corenswet delivers a convincing performance as Superman by balancing quiet humility with inspiring confidence, making the character feel both powerful and genuinely human. Rachel Brosnahan shines as Lois Lane, bringing intelligence, determination, and natural chemistry that strengthens every scene she shares with the lead character. Nicholas Hoult presents a modern and compelling Lex Luthor whose intelligence and ambition make him an effective opponent. Visually, the film is impressive, featuring polished visual effects, beautiful cinematography, vibrant colors, and memorable production design that create an optimistic atmosphere rarely seen in recent superhero films. The background score supports both emotional and heroic moments effectively, while the sound design and editing maintain a smooth and engaging pace throughout. The screenplay succeeds because it emphasizes character development, meaningful relationships, and timeless values such as honesty, kindness, sacrifice, and courage. Rather than presenting Superman as an invincible figure, the movie highlights his humanity and moral strength, making him more relatable and inspiring. The action sequences are exciting and technically well executed, but they never overshadow the emotional core of the story. Although a few supporting characters could have received more development, the performances of the main cast and the film's positive message easily outweigh these minor weaknesses. Overall, Superman 2025 is a well-crafted superhero film that combines strong performances, confident direction, emotional storytelling, excellent visuals, memorable music, and meaningful themes into an entertaining cinematic experience. It is a movie that respects the legacy of Superman while introducing a fresh beginning for a new generation, making it a worthwhile watch for both longtime fans and newcomers alike. Superman 2025 succeeds because it understands that the emotional connection between the audience and the central character is more important than constant spectacle. James Gunn directs the film with confidence, presenting Superman as a symbol of hope, responsibility, and compassion while avoiding unnecessary complexity. The movie balances emotional storytelling with entertaining superhero action, creating an experience that feels both modern and respectful of the character's long history. David Corenswet delivers a sincere and convincing performance, portraying Clark Kent with humility and Superman with calm confidence, making both identities equally believable. Rachel Brosnahan brings intelligence, determination, and emotional strength to Lois Lane, giving the character an important role that adds depth to the overall story. Nicholas Hoult presents Lex Luthor as a calculating and highly intelligent opponent whose ambition creates an effective contrast to Superman's selfless personality. One of the strongest aspects of the film is its visual presentation. The cinematography embraces bright colors, natural lighting, and wide compositions that reinforce the optimistic tone, while the production design creates locations that feel believable and visually memorable. Costume design respects the classic comic book appearance while introducing subtle modern refinements that fit naturally within the film's world. The visual effects are polished and support the storytelling without becoming distracting, allowing emotional moments to remain the primary focus. The background score is another major highlight, using orchestral themes to create a sense of inspiration during heroic scenes while providing softer emotional melodies during quieter character moments. Sound design remains clean and immersive, making dialogue, music, and action work together effectively. The editing keeps the narrative moving at a comfortable pace, allowing important conversations and character development to receive enough attention before transitioning into larger dramatic sequences. The performances across the supporting cast also contribute positively, helping create a believable world where different opinions about heroism, responsibility, and public trust feel authentic. The screenplay consistently emphasizes that Superman's greatest strength comes from kindness, integrity, patience, and the willingness to help others without expecting anything in return. Rather than presenting the character as an unstoppable force, the film highlights his emotional resilience and moral discipline, making him more relatable and inspiring. Although some supporting characters could have been explored in greater depth, The overall emotional impact remains strong because of the excellent chemistry between the lead actors and the film's clear thematic focus. Superman 2025 ultimately delivers a satisfying combination of heartfelt performances, confident direction, memorable music, impressive visuals, polished technical craftsmanship, and meaningful themes. It respects the legacy of one of the world's greatest superheroes while introducing a fresh cinematic identity, making it an enjoyable experience for longtime fans and newcomers who appreciate character-driven storytelling supported by high production quality and an uplifting message about hope, courage, and humanity. Superman 2025 stands as an example of how a superhero film can remain entertaining while placing equal importance on emotional storytelling and technical excellence. James Gunn approaches the material with a clear understanding of the character's legacy, choosing to emphasize hope, compassion, responsibility, and integrity instead of relying only on large-scale action. This creative direction gives the movie a distinctive identity and allows it to feel refreshing within the modern superhero genre. David Corenswet delivers a performance filled with sincerity, portraying Clark Kent as humble, thoughtful, and approachable while presenting Superman with quiet confidence and unwavering determination. His performance succeeds because it highlights the emotional qualities that make the character inspiring rather than focusing exclusively on physical strength. Rachel Brosnahan brings intelligence, courage, and authenticity to Lois Lane, making her an essential part of the film's emotional foundation. Her natural chemistry with Corenswet creates believable relationships built on trust, respect, and shared values. Nicholas Hoult offers a memorable interpretation of Lex Luthor, portraying him as an ambitious and highly intelligent individual whose obsession with control creates a meaningful contrast to Superman's selfless philosophy. The conflict between these opposing personalities strengthens the movie by exploring ideas about leadership, responsibility, and the ethical use of power. Visually, the film is consistently impressive, featuring detailed production design, vibrant cinematography, polished costume work, and high-quality visual effects that enhance rather than overshadow the narrative. Bright colors, carefully framed compositions, and expansive environments reinforce the optimistic atmosphere, giving the film a unique visual identity that separates it from darker superhero adaptations. The background score plays a significant role in establishing the emotional tone, combining inspiring orchestral themes with quieter musical passages that support the film's more personal moments. Sound design remains balanced throughout, ensuring that dialogue, music, and action complement one another without becoming overwhelming. The editing maintains a smooth pace that allows emotional conversations, character development, humor, and action to coexist naturally, preventing the narrative from feeling rushed. One of the movie's greatest strengths is its commitment to portraying heroism as an expression of compassion rather than dominance. Superman consistently demonstrates patience, humility, honesty, and empathy, reminding audiences that true leadership is built on earning trust instead of demanding admiration. The screenplay reinforces these values through meaningful character interactions and thoughtful dialogue, allowing the emotional themes to develop naturally. Supporting performances add depth to the world by presenting different viewpoints on justice, responsibility, and public confidence, making the setting feel believable and emotionally engaging. Although some secondary characters could have received greater development, the central performances remain strong enough to maintain the audience's investment throughout the film. Technically, Superman 2025 performs at a high level across cinematography, visual effects, editing, music, production design, and costume design, creating a polished cinematic experience that feels carefully crafted in every department. Overall, The film succeeds because it respects the timeless appeal of Superman while presenting a fresh and emotionally satisfying interpretation for modern audiences. Its combination of excellent performances, meaningful themes, confident direction, memorable music, impressive visuals, and heartfelt storytelling makes it a rewarding superhero film that celebrates hope, courage, kindness, and responsibility while laying a promising foundation for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 demonstrates that a successful superhero film depends on emotional honesty as much as impressive visual presentation. From its opening to its conclusion, the movie maintains a clear sense of purpose by focusing on hope, compassion, responsibility, and the importance of choosing the right path even during difficult circumstances. James Gunn brings a confident directing style that respects the legacy of Superman while introducing a modern cinematic approach that feels accessible to new audiences. His storytelling emphasizes character development over unnecessary spectacle, allowing emotional moments to remain at the center of the experience. David Corenswet delivers a balanced performance that captures both the humility of Clark Kent and the quiet confidence of Superman, creating a hero who feels inspiring because of his kindness rather than simply his extraordinary abilities. Rachel Brosnahan continues to impress with a strong portrayal of Lois Lane, presenting her as intelligent, determined, fearless, and emotionally grounded. Her presence strengthens the film by giving equal importance to courage, integrity, and independent thinking. Nicholas Hoult offers a thoughtful interpretation of Lex Luthor, portraying him as a calculating and ambitious figure whose intelligence makes him a formidable opponent. The contrast between Superman's compassion and Luthor's obsession with control becomes one of the film's strongest dramatic elements, encouraging viewers to reflect on the difference between power used for service and power used for personal ambition. Visually, the movie remains consistently engaging through vibrant cinematography, carefully designed environments, polished costumes, and high-quality visual effects that support the emotional storytelling instead of dominating it. The bright color palette and expansive compositions reinforce the optimistic tone, giving the film a distinctive identity within the superhero genre. The background score successfully combines uplifting orchestral themes with emotional melodies that enhance both heroic and personal moments, while the sound design provides clarity and impact across dialogue, music, and action. Editing maintains a steady rhythm that allows quieter scenes, character interactions, and exciting sequences to blend naturally without affecting the overall pacing. Another notable strength is the screenplay's focus on timeless values such as honesty, humility, empathy, sacrifice, and perseverance. Rather than presenting Superman as an untouchable figure, the film highlights his emotional resilience and unwavering belief in helping others, making him more relatable and inspiring. Supporting performances contribute to the richness of the world by offering different perspectives on justice, leadership, and public trust, helping the setting feel authentic and believable. Production design deserves appreciation for creating visually memorable locations that complement the tone of the story, while costume design modernizes classic comic book elements without losing their iconic appeal. Although some supporting characters could have benefited from additional development, the film's emotional core remains strong because of the excellent performances delivered by the lead cast and the clear creative vision guiding the narrative. Overall, Superman 2025 succeeds by balancing heartfelt storytelling, confident direction, memorable performances, polished technical craftsmanship, meaningful themes, and impressive visual presentation into a satisfying superhero experience. It reminds audiences that genuine heroism is defined not by unlimited strength but by compassion, responsibility, integrity, and the willingness to inspire hope even during challenging times, making it a rewarding and emotionally engaging addition to the Superman legacy and a promising step forward for the future of the DC Universe. Superman 2025 earns much of its success by reminding audiences that the character's greatest strength has never been his extraordinary abilities alone, but his unwavering belief in kindness, justice, and hope. Rather than presenting the hero as an unstoppable force defined only by action, the film consistently emphasizes his humanity and moral character. James Gunn directs the movie with a clear creative vision, blending emotional storytelling with exciting superhero spectacle while ensuring that every major sequence serves the development of the characters instead of existing only for visual impact. This thoughtful approach gives the film a confident identity and allows it to stand apart from many recent superhero productions that rely heavily on non-stop action. David Corenswet delivers a performance filled with warmth, sincerity, and quiet confidence, creating a version of Superman who feels approachable, compassionate, and genuinely inspiring. His portrayal captures the balance between Clark Kent's humility and Superman's determination, making both identities equally believable and emotionally engaging. Rachel Brosnahan gives Lois Lane intelligence, courage, and emotional depth, proving that the character is much more than a supporting presence. Her interactions with Clark Kent bring authenticity to the story, strengthening its emotional foundation through trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor provides an effective dramatic contrast by representing ambition, control, and intellectual arrogance, creating a conflict that explores the different ways power can influence people and society. Visually, the film remains one of the strongest entries in the modern superhero genre. The cinematography makes excellent use of scale, lighting, and composition to create memorable imagery that reinforces the optimistic tone of the story. The production design successfully combines familiar comic book influences with realistic environments, making every location feel distinctive and believable. Costume design respects the classic appearance of the characters while introducing modern details that feel natural rather than forced. The visual effects are consistently polished and integrated smoothly into the narrative, enhancing the storytelling without distracting from the performances. The musical score deserves special recognition for its ability to inspire excitement during heroic moments while supporting emotional scenes with subtle and expressive orchestral themes. Sound design contributes additional impact by creating a rich cinematic atmosphere where dialogue, music, and action remain balanced throughout the film. The editing maintains an effective rhythm, allowing emotional conversations, moments of reflection, humor, and large-scale action to coexist naturally without disrupting the flow of the narrative. One of the film's greatest achievements is its commitment to timeless values such as honesty, responsibility, empathy, sacrifice, and perseverance. These themes are presented through meaningful character interactions rather than heavy exposition, allowing the audience to connect naturally with the story. Even when the film introduces large-scale conflicts, it never loses sight of its emotional core, ensuring that the human relationships remain just as important as the spectacle. Although a few supporting characters could have benefited from additional screen time and deeper exploration, their performances still contribute positively to the overall experience. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it delivers more than visual entertainment. It offers an uplifting message about compassion, courage, and the importance of choosing hope even during difficult circumstances. Supported by confident direction, outstanding lead performances, memorable music, polished technical craftsmanship, and meaningful storytelling, the film creates a satisfying cinematic experience that honors Superman's legacy while presenting a fresh and inspiring vision for a new generation of audiences. Superman 2025 leaves a lasting impression because it treats its central hero as a symbol of optimism without ignoring the emotional challenges that come with carrying such enormous responsibility. Instead of relying entirely on visual spectacle, the film builds its strongest moments through character-driven storytelling, allowing audiences to connect with the people behind the costumes. James Gunn demonstrates a clear understanding of what has made Superman an enduring cultural icon for decades, presenting a version of the character whose greatest strengths are compassion, humility, honesty, and an unwavering commitment to helping others. This creative direction gives the film an uplifting identity that feels both respectful of the past and relevant for modern audiences. David Corenswet delivers a confident and heartfelt performance that captures the quiet dignity of Clark Kent alongside the inspiring presence of Superman. His portrayal avoids unnecessary exaggeration, choosing instead to communicate strength through calm determination, emotional restraint, and genuine empathy. Rachel Brosnahan continues to elevate the story with a strong performance as Lois Lane, portraying her as intelligent, fearless, resourceful, and emotionally mature. Her relationship with Clark is built on trust and mutual respect, making their interactions believable and emotionally satisfying. Nicholas Hoult's interpretation of Lex Luthor succeeds because it emphasizes intelligence, ambition, and psychological conflict rather than simple villainy. His presence challenges Superman on both moral and intellectual levels, creating dramatic tension that extends beyond physical confrontation. From a technical perspective, the film performs impressively across nearly every department. The cinematography combines expansive compositions with intimate character-focused shots, ensuring that emotional moments receive the same visual attention as large-scale action sequences. The production design creates environments that feel vibrant, detailed, and lived in, while the costume design successfully modernizes classic comic book imagery without losing its recognizable identity. The visual effects remain polished throughout the film, supporting the storytelling with convincing action and seamless integration into the world. Equally impressive is the musical score, which reinforces the emotional tone through powerful orchestral themes that inspire excitement during heroic moments and sensitivity during quieter scenes. The sound design enhances every sequence by maintaining clarity and impact without overwhelming the performances or dialogue. The editing deserves praise for balancing character development, humor, dramatic tension, and action with a smooth rhythm that keeps the narrative engaging from beginning to end. Another significant strength lies in the screenplay's consistent focus on values such as integrity, responsibility, hope, and selflessness. Rather than presenting heroism as a display of unmatched power, the film argues that true greatness comes from making ethical choices even when they require personal sacrifice. This message resonates throughout the story and gives the film emotional depth beyond its superhero framework. Although some secondary characters receive less development than the central cast, their performances still contribute to the richness of the world and support the overall narrative effectively. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds because it combines meaningful storytelling with polished filmmaking, memorable performances, impressive visuals, and an inspiring emotional message. It demonstrates that audiences continue to respond to heroes who lead through compassion instead of fear, making the film not only an entertaining blockbuster but also a thoughtful celebration of courage, kindness, responsibility, and hope that honors Superman's enduring legacy while establishing a promising future for the character on the big screen. Superman 2025 proves that a superhero film can be both emotionally engaging and visually spectacular without losing sight of the values that define its central character. Throughout the film, the narrative consistently emphasizes hope, compassion, responsibility, and integrity, allowing Superman to feel like an inspiring figure whose greatest strength lies in his character rather than his extraordinary abilities. James Gunn's direction demonstrates confidence and restraint, ensuring that emotional storytelling remains the foundation of the experience while action sequences enhance the narrative instead of overwhelming it. This balanced approach gives the movie a distinctive personality and helps it stand apart from many recent superhero productions. David Corenswet delivers a sincere and believable performance, portraying Clark Kent with humility and Superman with calm authority. His performance captures the emotional weight of carrying immense responsibility while never losing the kindness that has always defined the character. Rachel Brosnahan brings intelligence, confidence, and emotional authenticity to Lois Lane, creating a character who is independent, courageous, and deeply invested in uncovering the truth. Her chemistry with Corenswet feels natural and strengthens the emotional core of the story. Nicholas Hoult presents Lex Luthor as a complex and calculating adversary whose intelligence and relentless ambition create compelling dramatic tension. Rather than relying solely on physical conflict, the film explores the philosophical differences between Superman's belief in service and Luthor's pursuit of control, giving their rivalry greater emotional and intellectual depth. The technical achievements of the film deserve equal recognition. The cinematography captures both intimate character moments and grand heroic imagery with remarkable consistency, while the production design creates a world that feels expansive, vibrant, and believable. Costume design respects the iconic comic book aesthetic while introducing subtle modern refinements that suit the film's realistic tone. The visual effects remain polished and convincing throughout, supporting the action without distracting from the performances. The orchestral score enhances every major emotional beat, providing inspiring themes during heroic moments and gentle melodies during quieter scenes, while the sound design delivers clarity and impact across dialogue, music, and action. The editing maintains a smooth narrative flow, giving emotional scenes enough room to resonate before transitioning naturally into larger-scale sequences. The screenplay succeeds because it places equal importance on relationships, personal growth, and moral responsibility, reminding viewers that genuine heroism is measured by compassion, honesty, and selflessness rather than power alone. Even when the film explores larger conflicts, it never loses focus on the emotional journey of its central characters. While a handful of supporting roles could have benefited from additional development, the strength of the lead performances and the film's clear thematic vision ensure that the overall experience remains satisfying and memorable. Superman 2025 ultimately delivers an uplifting cinematic experience that combines heartfelt performances, thoughtful direction, impressive visuals, memorable music, and meaningful storytelling into a cohesive whole. It celebrates timeless ideals while presenting a fresh interpretation for modern audiences, making it a rewarding superhero film that leaves viewers with a lasting sense of optimism, courage, and hope. Superman 2025 succeeds because it understands that audiences connect most strongly with heroes who possess compassion, humility, and unwavering moral conviction rather than extraordinary powers alone. Throughout the film, every major creative decision reinforces the idea that hope is a source of strength capable of inspiring both individuals and entire communities. James Gunn directs the project with confidence and clarity, balancing emotional storytelling with visually impressive action while ensuring that character development remains the heart of the experience. Instead of overwhelming viewers with constant spectacle, the film allows meaningful conversations, personal struggles, and moments of quiet reflection to shape its emotional impact. David Corenswet delivers a performance filled with warmth, sincerity, and quiet determination, presenting a Superman who feels both larger than life and deeply relatable. His portrayal captures the gentle humanity of Clark Kent alongside the courage and responsibility expected from the world's greatest superhero, creating a character whose kindness becomes as memorable as his heroism. Rachel Brosnahan gives Lois Lane remarkable intelligence, resilience, and emotional depth, making her an essential part of the story rather than simply a supporting character. Her confidence, determination, and natural chemistry with Corenswet strengthen the emotional foundation of the film and provide many of its most engaging dramatic moments. Nicholas Hoult offers a disciplined and compelling performance as Lex Luthor, portraying him as a brilliant strategist whose ambition and desire for control create a powerful contrast to Superman's selfless philosophy. Their ideological conflict adds depth to the narrative by exploring themes of leadership, trust, responsibility, and the ethical use of power. From a technical perspective, Superman 2025 consistently demonstrates high production quality. The cinematography combines sweeping panoramic imagery with intimate close-up compositions that highlight emotional performances without sacrificing visual grandeur. The production design creates an immersive world filled with detailed environments that feel vibrant, believable, and visually distinctive. Costume design successfully modernizes classic comic book appearances while preserving the iconic elements that longtime fans appreciate. The visual effects remain polished throughout the film, enhancing the scale of the action while remaining seamlessly integrated into the storytelling. The musical score deserves particular praise for creating an emotional atmosphere that alternates naturally between inspiring heroism and heartfelt intimacy. Rich orchestral themes reinforce the film's uplifting tone, while quieter musical passages allow emotional scenes to resonate with sincerity. Sound design complements every sequence effectively, maintaining clarity in dialogue while giving appropriate impact to action and dramatic moments alike. The editing contributes to the film's steady pacing by allowing character relationships, humor, emotional conflict, and action to develop without feeling rushed or disconnected. The screenplay reinforces timeless values including honesty, sacrifice, empathy, perseverance, and hope, presenting heroism as a reflection of moral character rather than physical dominance. Even when facing difficult circumstances, Superman remains guided by compassion and integrity, making his journey emotionally rewarding for the audience. Although a few supporting characters receive limited development, their performances still contribute positively to the richness of the story and the credibility of its world. Ultimately, Superman 2025 delivers an inspiring superhero experience that successfully combines strong performances, thoughtful direction, exceptional technical craftsmanship, memorable music, polished visual presentation, and meaningful storytelling. The film honors the enduring legacy of Superman while presenting a fresh interpretation that reminds audiences why the character continues to represent hope, courage, responsibility, and the belief that genuine strength is measured by the willingness to help others even in the face of overwhelming challenges. Superman 2025 reinforces the timeless idea that true heroism is defined not by extraordinary abilities but by the choices a person makes when faced with responsibility. The film consistently presents Superman as a symbol of hope whose greatest influence comes from his compassion, honesty, and willingness to protect others without seeking recognition. James Gunn approaches the material with a clear creative vision that values emotional storytelling as much as visual spectacle, allowing the film to maintain a balance between heartfelt character moments and exciting superhero action. This balance gives the narrative a natural rhythm and prevents the larger action sequences from overshadowing the emotional journey of its characters. David Corenswet delivers a thoughtful and sincere performance, portraying Clark Kent with humility while giving Superman a calm confidence that feels both inspiring and believable. His performance succeeds because it highlights the character's empathy, patience, and unwavering moral principles, reminding audiences that kindness can be just as powerful as physical strength. Rachel Brosnahan continues to impress with a confident portrayal of Lois Lane, presenting her as determined, intelligent, and courageous. Her strong sense of independence and commitment to uncovering the truth make her one of the film's most engaging characters, while her chemistry with Corenswet provides warmth and authenticity to the emotional core of the story. Nicholas Hoult's interpretation of Lex Luthor adds another layer of quality to the film by presenting a villain driven by intellect, ambition, and an unrelenting desire for control. His conflict with Superman is compelling because it is rooted in opposing philosophies rather than simple personal rivalry, encouraging viewers to reflect on the nature of leadership, influence, and responsibility. From a technical perspective, Superman 2025 demonstrates exceptional craftsmanship. The cinematography captures both intimate emotional scenes and grand heroic imagery with equal confidence, creating memorable visuals that support the uplifting tone of the story. Production design builds a believable world filled with detailed environments that blend realism with classic comic book inspiration, while the costume design preserves the iconic appearance of the characters through subtle modern refinements. The visual effects remain polished throughout, enhancing the scale of the action while allowing the performances to remain the primary focus. The musical score contributes significantly to the film's emotional impact through inspiring orchestral themes that elevate heroic moments and gentle melodies that enrich quieter scenes. Sound design maintains excellent balance, ensuring that dialogue, music, and action work together harmoniously without overwhelming one another. The editing supports the narrative with smooth pacing, allowing character relationships, dramatic tension, humor, and action to develop naturally across the film. One of the screenplay's greatest strengths is its consistent emphasis on values such as integrity, empathy, sacrifice, perseverance, and hope. Rather than presenting heroism as an expression of dominance, the film celebrates service, compassion, and the courage to remain faithful to one's principles even during adversity. Although some supporting characters could have received additional development, the strength of the lead performances and the film's emotional clarity ensure that these minor shortcomings do not diminish the overall experience. Superman 2025 ultimately succeeds as a heartfelt and inspiring superhero film that combines meaningful storytelling, memorable performances, confident direction, polished technical achievement, and a powerful emotional message. It reminds audiences that hope remains one of the most enduring and meaningful qualities a hero can represent, making the film both an entertaining blockbuster and a thoughtful celebration of courage, humanity, and selfless leadership. Superman 2025 continues to distinguish itself as a superhero film that values emotional depth as much as cinematic spectacle. Instead of presenting heroism as an endless display of power, the film repeatedly emphasizes that true greatness comes from compassion, integrity, patience, and the willingness to place others before oneself. James Gunn's direction remains one of the strongest elements of the production, bringing a clear creative vision that balances heartfelt storytelling with exciting action while ensuring that every major sequence serves the characters rather than existing solely for visual excitement. This approach gives the film a sense of purpose and allows its emotional moments to leave a lasting impression. David Corenswet delivers a performance that captures both the quiet humility of Clark Kent and the inspiring confidence of Superman. His portrayal feels genuine because it focuses on emotional honesty, allowing audiences to connect with the character's values as much as his abilities. Rachel Brosnahan continues to provide a compelling performance as Lois Lane, portraying her as intelligent, fearless, determined, and emotionally resilient. Her strong screen presence and natural chemistry with Corenswet strengthen the emotional foundation of the story, making their relationship one of the film's most memorable aspects. Nicholas Hoult presents Lex Luthor as a disciplined, calculating, and highly intelligent adversary whose desire for influence and control creates a meaningful philosophical contrast with Superman's selfless commitment to protecting others. Their conflict extends beyond physical confrontation, exploring ideas about leadership, trust, morality, and the responsible use of power. From a technical standpoint, Superman 2025 demonstrates impressive craftsmanship across every department. The cinematography uses striking compositions, vibrant colors, and carefully controlled lighting to create imagery that feels both grand and emotionally intimate. Production design builds a world that is visually rich, believable, and filled with distinctive locations that support the optimistic tone of the narrative. Costume design successfully preserves the iconic identity of the characters while introducing modern refinements that blend naturally into the film's visual style. The visual effects remain consistently polished, enhancing the scale of the action without distracting from the performances or emotional storytelling. The musical score deserves special recognition for creating an atmosphere that inspires both excitement and emotional reflection, using memorable orchestral themes that complement the film's hopeful spirit. Sound design remains balanced and immersive, ensuring that dialogue, music, and action sequences work together harmoniously. The editing maintains a steady pace, giving emotional scenes enough time to resonate while keeping the overall narrative engaging and focused. The screenplay consistently reinforces timeless themes including courage, honesty, sacrifice, empathy, perseverance, and hope, presenting Superman as a hero whose moral character defines him more than his extraordinary abilities. Even during moments of conflict, the film never loses sight of its central message that kindness and integrity remain the strongest forms of leadership. Although some supporting characters could have benefited from greater development, the outstanding performances of the lead cast and the film's clear thematic direction ensure a rewarding viewing experience. Overall, Superman 2025 succeeds as an uplifting and emotionally satisfying superhero film that combines exceptional performances, thoughtful direction, polished technical achievement, memorable music, impressive visuals, and meaningful storytelling into a cohesive cinematic experience. It honors the enduring legacy of Superman while offering a fresh interpretation that celebrates hope, responsibility, compassion, and the enduring belief that true heroes inspire others through their actions rather than their power alone. Superman 2025 succeeds by proving that a modern superhero film does not need to sacrifice emotional sincerity in order to deliver an entertaining cinematic experience. One of the film's greatest achievements is its confidence in allowing its central themes to develop naturally through character interactions instead of relying on constant action or spectacle. James Gunn presents Superman as a hero whose defining qualities are empathy, integrity, optimism, and an unwavering commitment to doing what is right, regardless of personal cost. This creative direction gives the film a refreshing sense of identity and reminds audiences why Superman has remained one of the most respected fictional heroes for generations. David Corenswet delivers a performance that feels genuine from beginning to end, portraying Clark Kent with humility and quiet warmth while bringing calm authority and inspiring confidence to Superman. His interpretation emphasizes emotional intelligence and moral conviction, allowing viewers to connect with the character on a human level rather than simply admiring his extraordinary abilities. Rachel Brosnahan continues to impress with a confident and intelligent portrayal of Lois Lane, giving the character determination, courage, and emotional authenticity. Her presence adds balance to the narrative, and the natural chemistry she shares with Corenswet strengthens many of the film's most memorable emotional moments. Nicholas Hoult's performance as Lex Luthor offers a compelling contrast by presenting a man driven by ambition, intellect, and an intense desire for control. His ideological opposition to Superman creates dramatic tension that extends beyond physical conflict, encouraging reflection on the differences between leadership built on fear and leadership built on trust. From a technical perspective, the film demonstrates remarkable consistency. The cinematography combines expansive visual scale with intimate framing that highlights the emotional performances of the cast, while the production design creates a world that feels detailed, vibrant, and believable. Costume design successfully updates classic comic book elements without losing their iconic appeal, preserving the recognizable identity of each major character. The visual effects are refined and seamlessly integrated into the storytelling, supporting the action while allowing the emotional narrative to remain the primary focus. The musical score enhances the experience through uplifting orchestral themes that reinforce the film's hopeful atmosphere and quieter compositions that deepen emotional scenes. Sound design remains clear and immersive, creating an effective balance between dialogue, music, ambient sound, and action. The editing deserves recognition for maintaining a steady pace that gives important character moments enough room to develop while ensuring the narrative remains engaging throughout. The screenplay reinforces timeless values such as honesty, compassion, sacrifice, resilience, and responsibility, presenting heroism as an expression of character rather than power. Even when confronting difficult challenges, Superman's commitment to kindness and justice never weakens, making his journey emotionally satisfying and inspiring. Although a few supporting characters could have received additional development, the film's strong performances, thoughtful writing, and confident direction ensure that these minor limitations do not overshadow its many strengths. Overall, Superman 2025 stands as an uplifting superhero film that combines heartfelt performances, meaningful storytelling, exceptional technical craftsmanship, memorable music, polished visuals, and a powerful emotional message. It successfully honors the legacy of Superman while presenting a fresh and optimistic interpretation that reminds audiences that genuine strength is measured by compassion, responsibility, courage, and the ability to inspire hope in others. One of the most impressive qualities of Superman 2025 is the confidence with which it tells its story. Instead of trying to overwhelm the audience with non-stop action or constant surprises, the film chooses a more measured approach that allows its characters and themes to develop naturally. This decision gives the movie a stronger emotional foundation and makes its important moments feel earned rather than manufactured. James Gunn demonstrates remarkable control over the narrative, ensuring that every major event contributes to the overall journey instead of existing purely for spectacle. The film never forgets that audiences become invested in characters before they become invested in visual effects, and that philosophy shapes the entire experience. David Corenswet brings remarkable sincerity to the role, creating a Superman who feels approachable, thoughtful, and emotionally mature. His performance is built on subtle expressions